Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening to all. It's Sir Pao again, so let's see if you remember how we're supposed to greet each other. All right? Do you remember, kids? So,
Yes.
all right. Okay, so open your cameras, then put your fingers on the unmute button, and if you remember, let's do this. Okay? Are you ready? All right. One, two, three. Kumusta?
Yes.
Sir.
Oh
Yay.
man, you remembered. Thank you. All right. So, yay! Thank you for that. And again, here is my lovely daughter, Malaika. Let's say, Kumusta, Malaika?
Hi
Kumusta,
everyone.
Malaika?
Hi.
Hi.
So, again, we'd like to greet everyone a belated happy Philippine Independence Day and a happy Filipino Heritage Month. So, before we begin our program, we'd just like to inform everyone that this meeting is being recorded by the Organization for Documentation Purposes and that recording the same in whole or in part for personal use is not allowed. We'd also like to ask everyone to keep themselves muted until asked to unmute. And if you could, we'd really appreciate it if you left your cameras on. And we're so happy to see that the chat box is so active even before we started. So, yes, please keep using it, especially if you have any questions or comments during the event. So, yeah, just feel free to use the chat box or raise your hands. And we highly encourage you to ask questions because we have a very special guest coming tonight to answer them.
All right. And I'd like to comment first that yes, please try tofu. Your life will change. Okay.
Tofu is my favorite food.
Yes, and don't worry, it doesn't have those sharp edges that you were talking about when you swallow it. Yeah.
No, swallow the
I
screen.
know, I'm just joking.
Okay.
Okay, sige.
So, the first part of our program is a special live talk. In fact, it's the only live lecture in our series, and it's about Bahay Kubo. So, I don't have a lot to say in the about the topic, but my dad sure does. So, for the third and last time in this MKP Toronto 3-day webinar, let us welcome our speaker, my dad,
Woo! Woo!
again.
Yeah! Okay, so let me share my screen. Alright. Okay, so um I'd like to tell you a story first. Is that okay? Okay, so when way back in high school, the first chords that my cousin Kuya Gab ever taught me on the guitar were these three. Okay, these ones. Can you hear them? Malay, maybe you can point that one. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, those were the three chords he taught me. And guess what? The song that I could play with these chords is Matthew. Let's give them the lyrics. Okay, because this is a live presentation. All right, Matthew, let's do this. Okay, so this is the song that he taught me because he was sure that I knew it. All right, so Bahay kubo kahit munti ang halaman doon ay sari-sari singkamas at talong sigarilyas at mani sitaw bataw patani kundul patola upot kalabasa at saka meron pa labanos mustasa sibuyas kamatis bawang at luya sa paligid-ligid ay puno ng ligaya. Okay, so yes, thank you very much. Um, wala ba kayong mga kamay? Okay, can you clap for that? All right. Okay, so
This
thank you
live
very
show
much.
sucks.
Okay, so so that was the first song that he taught me, and so today, in honor of that first guitar lesson, I'll be giving you a few bits of trivia about the Bahay Kubo. Okay, we've been hearing Pigafetta's 1921 accounts about what they ate during the first contact of Europe and the Philippine Islands. But hidden within the descriptions of what they ate is an illustration of where they ate. So let's read it. Matthew, let's see that slide. Okay. So here, maybe you can read it with me while I read it aloud. Read it with your eyes. So, after which we went to the palace of the king, which was built like a hayloft and was thatched with fig. So, Pigafetta mistakenly thought that, called bananas figs. Okay, so it was thatched with banana and palm leaves. It was built up high from the ground on huge posts of wood, and it was necessary to ascend to it by means of ladders. All right. So, that description of the king's palace paints a similar picture as this one. Okay, the next slide. Taken almost 400 years later. So, it's a thatched house, elevated by means of wooden posts, and you needed a ladder to go up to it. And, next slide, another page from the same 1899 book shows the inside, where floor, table, and bed are almost indistinguishable. Okay, so think of lying down on where you ate. Well, that's the way things were. Okay, but already here in this picture, because it was almost the end of the Spanish times, we already, or maybe it was the end, but already we see signs of a wooden bench and an altar which shows the inhabitants' religion. Next slide. Inside or outside the Bahay Kubo has always been a gathering place for Filipinos. Next slide. Who, when they say, I'm moving to another place, actually means moving their whole house. Okay, so that's one of the advantages of the Bahay Kubo. It's movable, as is depicted in this picture of what we call the bayanihan. Can you say that, kids? Can you repeat that word? Can you unmute and say bayanihan?
Bayanihan.
Bahanian.
Again, one more time. I'll say it again. Bayanihan. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Bayanihan.
Bayanihan.
Bayanihan. Okay, so that means helping each other carry your load. Okay, or in this case, your house. Okay, so next slide. Here we see a Bahay Kubo of Ifugao design. So that is in the mountains of Luzon, which is especially suited for living in the mountains, which are often visited by tropical storms. So it has a steep sloping roof that even if you ask engineers today, they will say that it resists being torn off by storms. Teepees, yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. It's like a teepee, but it's made higher from the ground because I think teepees are on the ground, and bahay kubos are elevated. Okay, you know why? Because a lot of times, because of tropical storms, you can expect floods. Okay, so when there's a flood, what happens? Your all the things in your house get destroyed. Okay, but if you live on a house which is elevated, well, it's saved from the flood. All right. Okay, so I hope you can see us and hear us now. Do you? Can you?
Oh, yes, we can. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's do this. Matthew, do you have that slide with the Bahay Kubo on stilts?
Yes, sir. I think so.
All right. Okay.
Ito po ba?
Yan, okay. We also have Bahay Kubo on stilts on seashores, like those of the Bajau Laut in Basilan. That's in Mindanao. Okay. So, if you think it's only for seashores, look at this one, the next one. We have a Bahay Kubo boat designed for the oceans, called Alepa by the Sama Bajau, who live on the Southeast Asian Sea. So, they actually live on the sea. Okay, they dive for their food with only a spear in hand, and they dock wherever the waves lead them. Okay, and one of those docking places is the Philippines. Okay, So next we have an elaborate version of the bahay kubo, which is called the torogan. It sounds like tulugan or sleeping place in Tagalog. So it's a torogan of the Murnau in Mindanao. So remember the talk about from Professor City? So she is Murnau. And this is one of the bahay kubo of the Maranao in Mindanao. Its sides are adorned with carved serpent or fern motifs. So if you see there are like wings on the side. So that's actually shaped like a serpent or fern leaves. And they can be found as can also be found on the Southeast Asian instrument called the kulintang. If you've studied about Asian instruments, you'll know that platform with a lot of gongs, and at the end you have this design that's the same design, right? So okay, next, even the bahay na bato or stone house owned by the upper class during the Spanish occupation, if you see here, it's patterned after the bahay kubo, with brick and stone replacing the wooden stilts. It's still elevated, and you traditionally you don't put anything very valuable or easily destroyed at the bottom. So it's still like that. It's a space. Um, it's a very sturdy space because of the bato, because of the stone and the brick, but it's still a house that is elevated. Now the thatched walls are replaced with hardwood. Okay, so that's the bahay na bato. And this, by the way, is the house of Jose Rizal. Okay, if you know him. Okay, next. But my first idea of a bahay kubo actually looked something like this. Yes, Kung Fu Panda. Yes, we share a lot of culture with our Southeast Asian with our Asian neighbors. So my first idea of a bahay kubo looked something like this. So I drew this a while earlier, but I've been drawing this picture since I was a kid, since I was younger than you, kids who are here. Okay, so yeah, if you don't recognize it, the bahay kubo is on the left. There's a coconut tree on the right. There are there are rice paddies. There's a rice plantation stretching towards the mountains where the sun is rising and there's a blue sky. Okay, so can we see the next slide? But if I was really surprised to find that my drawing is quite similar to this photo I found on Wikipedia. Okay, a small house surrounded by plants being farmed, but also just growing in the garden or the bakuran for the family's food needs. Okay, thus the folk song. Okay, so yet this subject of children's drawings, next slide, and folk songs was studied for what it showed about the complexity, wow, complexity of Filipino culture. Scholar Stephen Acabado, who wrote this article in a whole book, he wrote a whole book on the Bahay Kubo, he says, next slide, the song is a great example of the widespread expansion of plants and animals brought by maritime exchanges, so that means exchange on the ocean, through the ocean, that started when Columbus accidentally ended in the island of Columbus' journey, accidentally ended in the island of Hispaniola, which is present-day Dominican Republic. He also says that of all the plants that I mentioned, only upo, wax gourd, bawang, garlic, and labanos or radish appear to be local species. So I mentioned a lot of plants, but only three of them, says Acabado, appear to be local species. The rest traveled by sea to our shores. All right, so all of those other plants, they had to travel by sea to the Philippines. Okay, so next. So we have from Mesoamerica, singkamas or hikama. From India, talong or eggplant. Bataw or hyacinth bean. Linga or sesame seed. From Africa or New Guinea, we have sigarilyas or winged bean, which is one of my favorite gulays. Okay. From Peru, we have the next slide, patani or lima bean. Okay. From South America, we have mani or peanut, sitaw or string bean, and of course, kamatis or the tomato, which transformed cuisines throughout the world. Okay, so it came from South America. And from our Asian neighbors, we have sibuyas or onion, mustasa or mustard, and kundol or winter melon, which is now a popular flavor of milk tea. Okay, so let's have our last slide. So you see, these are not just the lyrics of a folk song, which used to be taught to every Filipino child back when I was a kid. It also features the pattern for much of the architecture of the 180 plus cultures in the Philippines and is a record of how our foodways are the product of our indigenous culture, enriched by the many different cultures which happen to sow their seeds in our backyard. Okay, so in celebration of our unique culinary history, let's sing this song one last time together. Okay? So sing along, kids, even if you don't know the melody. Okay, that's half of the fun of it, right? So, okay? So, let's try it. You heard the melody once earlier. I'm confident that you can do a decent job. Okay? So now you can unmute yourselves and we can sing together. And if we don't understand what's happening, that's great. Okay, so let's do this. Let's sing this song that every Filipino kid should know. All right? So if you're ready, please unmute yourselves. Even the not so young can join in. Okay, so maybe we have to lead this singing just like karaoke. All right? Okay, so right, let's do this.
Kakanta ka ba?
Uh, are the lyrics there? Matthew, maybe we can flash the lyrics first, not the gulay anymore. Are you unmuting, kids? All right, let's unmute. All right, let's go. Bahay kubo kahit munti ang halaman doon ay sari-sari, singkamas at talong, sigarilyas at mani, sitaw at patani, kundul patola, upod kalabasa, at saka meron pa labanos, mustasa, home stretch, sibuyas, kamatis, bawang at luya, sa paligid-ligid ay puno ng hilinga. Yay! Congratulations! Let's clap for ourselves and each other. All right. Okay, so thank you very much. And again, that was Bahay Kubo. And that's me signing off. Thank you.
Yay! Thanks for that fun and interesting talk, Dad. And it was so nice to hear all your voices. So, okay. Now we have a video prepared for us by a Filipino chef from Sicily, Italy. His humble beginnings in Kalumpit, Bulacan allowed him to do many different things. He studied and finished a multimedia technology degree, worked various jobs in the kitchen, and found himself as a photographer and musician. He now lives in Italy with his wife and two Italian Filipino sons. His in depth and hands on experience in the kitchen allowed him to run their family's traditional Italian restaurant in Sicily, despite not having formal training. So, making his way as a chef in Italy, he recently won a prestigious TV competition called Gino Cerca Chef that was hosted and judged by Chef Gino da Campo and Fred Sirias. Let's all welcome Chef Morris Danzen. So let's watch the video.
All right.
Hi guys! Welcome sa mga Kuwentong Pagkain. This is Chef Maurice Danzen. Today, I'm going to show you one of my favorite recipes from the Philippines. Back when I was in high school, every time that we're gonna have a break, we're gonna go to our school canteen and we're gonna find a lot of Filipino food. And in that school canteen, I always ordered palabok. But what I really love the most is the flavor that is coming out from its sauce. It's luscious, it's really tasty, punchy, and full of flavors that is really special. And I think that's the secret for a really nice palabok. Mostly in the Philippines, traditionally we use some meat broth as the base of the sauce. We can also use some seafood broth. And living in this beautiful island of Sicily, I am going to use our Mediterranean prawns for the base of our broth. And that's why in this recipe, I'm gonna teach you on how to cook palabok and make it extra special and extra delicious. But at the same time, it's gonna be simple, it's gonna be quick, few ingredients. I'm not gonna talk more, let's start cooking. First, let's prepare our noodles. We're gonna use this nice and thin noodles. All right, let's heat up one pot, add some water and let it boil. Okay, what we're going to do is we're gonna add our noodles to our water and let it boil for at least 4 to 5 minutes. Actually, sometimes it doesn't matter if you're gonna use some thick noodles or thin noodles. It is your personal preference which one do you like. And to avoid overcooking the noodles, let's drain and wash it into the running water. You have to cool it down before we let it rest. It's still in the cooking process even though we already took out the noodles from our pot. And that's my secret on how they won't stick with each other. Now let's clean our prawns. As you can see, I have this beautiful Mediterranean prawns, really fresh. But the most important thing when you're cooking prawns, you have to clean it very well. Now let's take out the shell and then separate the meat. Let's take out the heads and put it in another bowl. But the thing is, we have to open our prawns just like this with a normal knife. Cut it in the middle and slowly vein our prawns. It's like the stomach of our prawns. You cannot eat this one, so pay attention. Every time you cook prawns, take this one out. We're gonna use the shells to make a really intense broth which will really give a punch to our palabok. Now I'm gonna cut some cloves of garlic, just like that. Just take a look at my hand. Don't rush it, just do it slowly, all right? Onion, to make it easier to mince, so just cut it here on the side, just like that. And now on top, and start to slice it slowly, just like that. Look at that. So you have perfectly diced onions. So this is what we call sofrito in Italian. It is a aromatic flavor base, onions, celery, and carrots. So this is the foundation of many soup or broth. So I'm gonna take one skillet or one pan. Let's heat it up, only in the medium heat. And I'm going to use olive oil because it's so healthy, it's super healthy. I suggest you to use olive oil rather than using vegetable oil. Let's add our onion, then our garlic, and of course our carrots and celery. So don't forget that we are not frying our sofrito, we're not frying our vegetables. We want to sweat all the vegetables to intensify more their taste, all right? When you see that the onion becomes translucent, that's the time that is ready, right? Can you smell? Wow, the smell is so amazing, really nice. Some bay leaves, put it there. Now it's time to add our prawn shells and our prawn heads. Let's put it there. So let's wait until all the natural juices from the prawns goes to our sofrito. The most tastiest part of the prawns are the head. You never throw the heads and shells of the prawns. You do it like this and do some extra special sauce. I'm going to add our water. Let it simmer for at least 15 to 20 minutes. If it's going dry, try to add more water in it. Let's wait until our prawns are really soft. So after 30 minutes of waiting, now it's time to separate our broth from the shells. Same pan, I'm gonna use some olive oil, 1 clove of garlic. We're only infusing our oil. And later on, we're gonna take out this garlic. Our prawns. Let's caramelize our prawns just here for about a minute each side. Now I'm gonna turn it. Wow, amazing color. I have these string beans. Just take this part on top and the bottom. Just slice it in the small pieces again. Be careful when you're handling your knife. And for the toppings, you can be more creative in that and vary it. Like you can use some seafoods, you can put some spring onions, some smoked fish, you can use garlic, you can use tofu. It's like sky is the limit. Now let's put our broth, our prawns broth. All right, just let it boil and simmer for a bit. And to make it thicker, even brighter and more delicious, we're going to use Mamacita's palabok mix. At least if you don't have time and you're so busy to cook our prawn broth, you can just use Mamacita's palabok mix. It's tasty enough to make a really good sauce, and it makes it simpler for you to cook it anytime you want at home. And we're done with our palabok. Now it's time to plate our dish. Look at that, guys. Look how creamy it is. Look at the color. Wow. And to add more umami taste or umami flavor, I'm gonna add this beautiful wakame seaweed. To add some texture, I'm gonna put almond nuts. This is Chef Morris once again on behalf of mga Kwentong Pagkain ni Mamacita's. Thank you so much. I will see you again. We're gonna cook more Filipino recipes with innovation and new style, new techniques. Happy cooking, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank
Wow.
you so much, Chef Morris,
Wow,
for
wow.
that video. Your videos never fail to make me hungry, and I think everyone in the chat box agrees. So if you guys didn't notice, Chef Morris is actually here to attend our webinar today. So everyone say hi, Chef Morris. You can type in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. So, yes, hi Chef Morris. Thank you again for being here, and we are so happy to have you. And
Hi, Chef Morris.
Hello. Hello.
Hi
if you
guys,
haven't
can you
if
hear
you
me?
haven't seen
Hi.
po, you have been dubbed the
I'm hungry.
Filipino Gordon Ramsay by our chat box.
So true. Yeah,
Uh,
The Filipino version of Gordon Ramsay.
my pleasure.
Okay,
How
so
are you guys
yeah,
doing?
well, we're doing fine. Okay, so make sure to save up all your questions because we'll have a Q&A later with Chef Morris. All right, so we'll play another video first from Chef Morris because he makes his videos sound and look so delicious, and we're sure that it tastes the same. So let's play this next video and then we'll have our Q&A. All right.
Ciao, my name is Chef Morris. I live here in a magnificent island called Sicily. It's really beautiful in here. We have a restaurant called Ristorante La Bottega del Porto. We're doing Filipino and Sicilian cuisine. Recently, I won a competition. It's called Gino Checa Chef here in Italy. It was hosted by Gino Da Campo and Fred Siriux. They were also the judges, and it was an incredible experience. Now, if someone will ask me what I really miss about Philippines, it's absolutely the food, and of course, I really miss my mom as well. She always cooks adobo for us. While we were young, we grew up with that. It's like adobo is not just food. It's part of our culture. It's part of our childhood. That's who we are.
High school si Morris, yung mga anak ko, is talagang pinagluluto ko sila ng adobo kasi yun ang pinaka-favorite nila talagang ulam. About the adobo is pang sarili kong tag dito, style ko to. Pero hindi ito yung talagang style ng adobo. So ito pang sarili ko lang para sa mga anak ko. So yung chicken is ibababad ko, hahaluan ko lang siya ng laurel, bawang, at saka paminta, toyo, suka. Ang ginagamit kong suka is sukang paumbong. So, pakukuluan ko muna siya. After that, saka ko lang siya ipa-fry. Tapos, saka ko lang ulit pakukuluan dun sa sarili niyang sabaw. So, matutuyo siya ng konti. Yun.
Adobo is actually cooking a protein with some vinegar, spices, with the garlic and also bay leaves. If in fact in the Philippines we've got a lot of versions of it. Every family has a version of it. But this day I want to teach you something different. I want to do it my way. But it's still adobo. Ciao ragazzi, this is Chef Morris. Buongiorno, welcome to Sicily. At welcome sa mga kwentong pagkain. As you can see, we have a beautiful day today. It's a very sunny day. And today, pag-uusapan natin ang hari ng Filipino cuisine. Ano pa nga ba kundi ang chicken adobo. At bago ang lahat, tuturuan ko muna kayo kung paano i-prepare ang ating gagamiting chicken para sa ating adobo. Handa na ba kayo? Let's cook! Let's make sure matalim yung ating kutsilyo bago tayo mag-start. Unahin natin yung ating leg part. Then we're trying to find the joint and doon natin siya hihiwain. So this is our first leg. Now let's try to cut the wing. So same lang din, hahanapin natin yung kanyang joint and let the knife do the work. Now let's try to take out the chicken breast from its crown. It's very simple, just let the knife do the work. No pressure. Now it's time to marinate our chicken. So let's prepare our marinade for our chicken. At dahil sobrang hirap maghanap dito sa Sicily ng Filipino ingredients, like the soy sauce and all that, gagamit ako ng mamasita and I will dilute it with water. And it's just gonna be the same taste. So, it's the best alternative I think na pwede natin gamitin. I'm just gonna dilute it with water. And make sure lang na na-dilute mo siya maigi with water. I'm gonna add some olive oil. Magpipit-pit ako ng 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. It will give a very, very nice taste to our chicken. Alam mo yung garlicky taste, yung hinahanap natin sa chicken. And maglalagay ako ng lemon. Just gonna cut 2 lemon. And lagay natin yung lemon juice. At syempre, hindi mawawala yung ating bay leaves. So, ito siya. Ito galing sa sisili yung ating bay leaves. Which is yung kanyang flavor is very, very intense. Ito pa yung lalong magpapasarap ng ating adobo. I am going to crack some salt and pepper. So ngayon maglalagay ako ng nutmeg, which magbibigay ng earthy and very nice fragrance sa ating adobo. Let's mix it up. Now, I'm going to put our chicken. Let's mix it very well. So I'm going to add one more lemon kasi gusto ko yung lemony, no? Makuha niyo yung lemony taste. Sa adobo, ang hinahanap natin yung nag-aagaw yung tamis, yung asim, yung linamnam. At syempre, huwag natin kakalimutan yung a little bit of spice. So maglalagay ako ng siling labuyo para lang ma-level up natin yung ating adobo at malagyan natin siya ng kaunting kick. I will let it sit inside the fridge for at least an hour. Kung mas marami kayong time, mas maganda kasi mas matagal yung minarinig yung chicken, mas magiging malasa siya. Now I'm going to heat up one pan. Maglalagay tayo ng bawang. So ika-crush lang natin siya. Hindi ko na siya i-chop and isasama natin yung skin kasi yung skin niya ay nagpapalasa palalo sa ating oil. So in-infuse natin yung oil. So most of us doesn't know na yung skin ng garlic ay sobrang malasa. Sa mga nagtatanong kung bakit gumamit ako ng spring onion is because gustong-gusto ko yun na ibibigay niyang delicate sweetness sa ating dish. I'm gonna chop it. Let's put it right there. And now, ito na yung ating minarinade na chicken. So for at least an hour sa fridge, of course. Dahil delicate ang chicken. So, lalagay natin siya and isi-simmer natin siya sa ating pan. Para magkaroon siya ng Maillard reaction. Ano ba yung Maillard reaction? Yun yung nagbibigay or yung nagka-caramelize sa ating chicken. Let's turn our chicken. Kita nyo, nag-caramelize na yung ating skin. Kailangan i-balance natin yung kanyang pagka-caramelize para even. Now I'm going to add some thyme. And some sage. This is actually optional, but gusto-gusto ko kasi naglalagay ng herbs and spices sa aking niluluto para lalo pa siyang na-enhance. Can you see the color? It's really, really nice. So, hindi na ako naglagay ng sugar kasi dun sa nilagay nating adobo mix, hindi na kailangan ng sugar. Meron na siyang sugar content and talagang kompleto na siya. So, dire-diretso na yung pagluluto natin. Wow, nagugutom na ako. I'm very excited na matikman yung ating adobo today. So, kapag medyo nadadry na yung ating sauce at hindi pa luto yung chicken, magdadagdag lang tayo ng water. While nagsisimmer tayo ng ating chicken, tatakpan natin siya. Maglalagay pa tayo ng isa pang sauce. So it's my secret. I'm going to add a coconut milk sauce made from the chicken bone. So I'm going to do it in this pot. Let's preheat our pot. Alright, I'm going to put some olive oil and ilalagay natin yung ating chicken bone kanina. Going to crush some garlic. Lagyan natin siya dyan. And lalagyan ko ng onion. Binabaan na natin yung flame ng ating adobo dahil gusto natin na mag-slow cook siya sa kanyang sauce. I'm going to add more bay leaves. Wow! This is going to be very, very punchy. Siyempre, hindi mawawala yung ating gata. Gusto lang natin maging translucent yung ating onion. And then, i-add natin yung ating gata. Pag nakaramelize na yung bone natin, lagay na natin yung ating gata. And let it boil. So, let's check our adobo. Wow, look at that color, guys. Look at that. Wow. So, I'm going to wait for our adobo and our sauce. Now, let's start preparing our green mojito salad. Start off with some avocados. Cut it in half. So this will really add some freshness to our adobo. Going to take off from the shell. I'm gonna put it in one bowl. I am going to add some lemon or lime to it so we can avoid deoxidizing our avocados para hindi siya mangitim. So, lemon agad ang inyo ilagay. And I will toss it with a fork. So, it's very easy. So, kita nyo, hindi na siya nangitim dahil sa ating nilagay na lemon. Now, I am going to add some green apple. I will just cut it into cubes. And I will add it inside our avocado. Mix lang natin siya. And with the lemon again, hindi magde-deoxidize yung ating apples. Alright, I'm gonna add some olive oil. Of course, hindi siya magiging mojito kung hindi tayo maglalagay ng mint. So, from the garden, I picked up some mint. You can use some other herbs, like basil, if you want. Actually, I'm gonna add a little bit of that for the color. Salad is mojito salad, so we just want to mimic the taste of the mojito without the alcohol. That's it. Lalagyan na natin yung ating, you can put some lettuce. I'm gonna put some fresh valeriana. Crack a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm going to add more lemon juice. Para lalo siya maging zingy. This is it. Very simple, very refreshing green apple mojito salad. Now let's plate our adobo dish. I'm gonna try a little bit of the chicken together with the mojito salad, coconut milk, and let's see how it works together. You know, there's a little bit of spiciness of the chicken with the adobo mix, and then there's the freshness of the mojito salad together with the mint, adds a lot of freshness to the dish. Also the coconut milk, the richness of it, bagay na bagay sa ating chicken adobo. Maraming salamat. This is Chef Morris. I hope to see you again in our next episode. We're gonna cook more Filipino food. Kung nagustuhan niyo itong recipe na to today, abangan niyo yung ating susunod na lulutuin. Maraming salamat and God bless you. Happy cooking.
Thank you again, Chef Morris, for that wonderfully made video with some wonderfully made adobo. So, in the chat box, I saw Angelina said that you have successfully made everyone hungry. And yes, we are so hungry, and it's almost 1 a.m. here. So, I don't know anymore. So, it's now time for our question and answer part of the program. So, if you have any questions for who you're calling the Filipino Gordon Ramsay, ask them now.
All right, so we only have about 5 or 6 minutes for this, so make your questions count, okay? So I think we have our first question that I noticed in the chat box is, do you need spice to make palabok? Right. So Chef Morris, again, welcome.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you po.
All right. Okay, so
Are you in Italy,
yeah,
Chef Morris?
I'm in our restaurant actually right now,
Oh, okay.
and
Thank you for taking
yeah,
time out to answer our questions. Thank you.
it's all right. It's all right. We're still doing some preparation. But what's the question again? I'm sorry.
Do you need spice to make palabok?
If you're using Mamacita's palabok mix, it's actually ready, and you just have to add just a little bit more punch to it, like what we did in the video. Like we used the broth from the prawns if you want it to be more punchy, and you can also use your creativity, like if you want more spicy or if you want it to be more deep, so you can add some other herbs or spices that you want. So it's actually it depends on your creativity. But the palabok mix is more than enough to make a very very delicious palabok.
All right. Thank you for that answer, Chef. I think we have another question. Malay, maybe you can read it.
Okay, Angelina's asking po, how long have you been cooking for?
Oh, since when I was a kid, because it started out when my dad became blind, and I had to cook for my dad. Because my mom and my sister they were working abroad, and I had to take care of my dad. So I had to learn everything by myself, and according to my mom, she was the one who taught me how to cook.
All right. So since you were a kid, so maybe you were at the age that these kids are in? Do you
I
see our
was no, I was
audience? They are very young. So yeah, maybe
yeah.
you were that
Well,
young when you started cooking, chef?
I was like 12 or 13, something like that.
All right. So you can start that early. Yeah, and by the time
Yeah,
you're Chef
yeah.
Morris's age, you'll be a world-renowned chef. So yeah, okay. So thank you. So maybe we have other questions.
Sure.
Okay, so
While we're looking po, I have a question.
ako rin I have a question.
What was the painting po in the last video?
Oh, that one. It's a painting of from my friend. So it's a gift from my friend here in Sicily. So she actually did that and gave it to me. And she
It
wanted to
was
see it in the video, so I just
ang galing po.
put
It
it
was
there.
nice.
Very
It was
nice
very
po.
good, and it added a
Thank you.
special look to the video. So yeah,
To the
thank you very
video.
much.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Wow, okay. So here's another question. I think it's a hard question to answer. What's the
Oh,
hardest
really?
meal? What's the hardest meal to make? Whoa.
The hardest meal to make? Actually, the hardest meal to make is actually the simplest one. So, just for example, like for example in Italy, the hardest you won't believe that, but the hardest dish is the spaghetti with the tomato sauce, because the simplest the dish is, it's very hard to perfect to make it perfect. If you do it like some mistakes with some elements on the dish, and then you're done. So you have to really know each single element of the dish. But since the simplest one has the least element, so you really have to learn how to do it well.
All right, thank you, chef. There's another question. What is the best meal that you think you've made?
The best, I think it's the adobo.
Really? All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
because
it's very imaginative, chef.
Yes.
yeah, and that's the first dish that I've learned from my mom. So I had to recreate her recipe. It's actually her recipe is more simple than that, but very delicious. Yeah. So
Oh,
but it's very simple, you know, from the sukang paumbong.
sukang paumbong. All right. Okay, so thank you very much. There's another question. This is our last question. Malay, maybe you can read it.
Okay, from Consul
Sure.
General Orontes Castro, how you
Oh.
how you migrated and became a successful chef or expert on culinary in Sicily.
Oh, okay.
So,
So
what's your story?
my story, yeah. Uh, Actually, I've never dreamt to be a chef. It's just I think it's my destiny to be a chef because before I used to work in China as a singer, and I was doing some part-time job like to cook, but I didn't know that it's my passion and it was my talent. And it just so happened that I met my girlfriend and now my wife. We decided to migrate to Sicily because she's from Sicily, and after we got married to Philippines, and now we have two kids. And right here, it's quite hard to find a job as a singer. So it just so happened that they have a restaurant here in Sicily, and okay, I said why not? So I came back to kitchen and study all the Sicilian cuisine, Italian cuisine, and Mediterranean. And by the time that we managed the restaurant, I changed the style from trattoria to fusion cuisine, which is what we're doing right now. It's a combination of Sicilian and Filipino cuisine.
All
It
right,
was
chef.
hard,
Wow.
but
Okay.
we're doing good. We're doing great right now.
All right, that's good to know, chef. And yes, thank you for your inspiring story and your delicious recipes. So maybe if they want to keep in touch with you and to learn more from you, where can they reach you or watch your videos?
Sure. We have our YouTube channel. It's Chef Morris Danzen. I'm doing some live videos and some recipes. Also some touring right here in Sicily and Italy. And of course, you can check out my website, www.chefmorrisdanzen.com for some recipes. Also, you can follow my Instagram and social media, Chef Morris Danzen. You can see all my creations right in there. You can ask some questions. You don't have to worry about that. Just write a message and I will respond to your question. All right. So thank you so
All
much, guys,
right.
for inviting me
Thank
today.
you, Chef
My
Maurice, for
pleasure.
Thank you
taking time
po.
out from your cooking to
So glad
grace
to
us
be
with your
here.
presence. Yes. Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you to all those who asked questions. So before we end, let's give a clap to Chef Morris. Yes. All
Thank you
right.
so much,
Big
guys.
round of applause for Chef
Thank
Morris.
you, chef.
Okay, so before
Thank
we
you.
end, we just have a few announcements. Thank you, Chef Morris. And okay, Malay, take it away.
Oh, okay. So first, Fun Philippines Toronto Street Festival will be happening on July 23 and 24, 2022 at Little Manila, Bathurst Street, corner Wilson Avenue, North York, Toronto. So this event is organized by the Philippine Legacy and Cultural Alliance, and everyone is welcome. There is no entrance fee, so you can just drop by and look around. And when you're there, be sure to take part in Mamacita's sampling and selling activity. They will be featuring dishes made with Mamacita's oyster sauce and barbecue marinade, which sounds so good. So, yes, be sure to drop by Little Manila on July 23 and 24.
Okay, secondly, if you want to write down your Filipino food stories, we have our Mga Kwentong Pagkain contest, which has the details here. You can take a screenshot or you can scan the QR code with your phones right now.
And okay, this is the last day of our 3-day MKP Toronto webinar series. And we would just like to sincerely thank you all for being here and for having us. And we highly encourage you to fill out the evaluation form for this event so that we know what we should keep doing and what we should improve and anything in general. So the link to the evaluation form is
We'll be writing
tinyurl.
that in the chat box, I think.
Yes.
Yes, there.
You can also scan it or type tinyurl.com/MKP Toronto 2022 eval. So yes, it's flashed on the screen and I believe it will be sent in the chat box in a while. Yes, please do answer it. You don't have to finish it at this moment, although we highly encourage that you answer it immediately because we would really like to hear from you.
All right, so that's it. Okay, and thank you for participating in Mamacita's Mga Kwentong Pagkain Toronto 3-day webinar, and happy Filipino Heritage Month to